Hey guys, Illumi back at you again, early in the morning. Today, I am here on a bit more of a unpleasant matter. Now, I was doing work and I came across a little bit of a news tidbit about something that happened at K-Expo. I guess K-Expo is like an event with Korean musicians or K-pop stars. But apparently a security guard there was being incredibly unpleasant and racist. Now, just reading the headline and some of the descriptions, I can already guess what happened. It's just plain as a picture book to me. So I thought this would be a good opportunity to talk about it, and some of the issues underlying what happened in the video. And I thought, also that I had somewhat of a responsibility to talk about it. So I haven't watched the video yet. So let's get into it and see what went on exactly. One of the security staff at Melrose Ballroom for K-Expo spent the entire evening harassing fans and making fun of the groups. Okay, so without even really watching it, I already know to a certain extent probably how he acted. All right? He talked about how feminine and gay-looking the members were during their first introduction and made comments about a fan's English comments, being Korean, made nasty, sexualizing comments to her. He made another inappropriate comment about, speaking English, and apparently he was just acting nasty throughout the night. Now, let's talk about a few things. One, I'm not a fan of witch hunting or cornering people in public to shame them or punish them. However, I feel like today in 2018, in certain instances, that it does work for the benefit of the whole. Before we had smartphones, before we had the internet, before all that, there's just so much inappropriate, just downright wrong stuff that is said or done without ever being really caught or pointed out. And finally, in 2018, these kinds of behaviors are being outed. And I think, assuming what this guy did is true, this is an instance in which that works. Now, he also said a lot of nasty things about everybody there. And some of the stuff he said, I can picture anyone anywhere doing. Apparently he talked about how feminine and, whatever looking the members were. Now, I have to say this, but there's definitely a racial element in there. He may not have said it outright, but there is. 20, 30 years ago, if, I can picture like a huge security guard being at a Backstreet Boys concert or NSYNC concert and talking about how feminine and, whatever, gay looking the members there were. Now, that was like 20, 30 years ago. Today in 2018, I feel like that really wouldn't happen, at least not as often. So why am I not surprised that it happened here? That's where the racial element comes in. For some reason, in American society and Western society, it is still completely appropriate to just completely blanket stereotype and say terrible things about Asians, about Asian people. And that has to stop. And assuming there was that kind of motive or intent behind this, you did a good job, because it seems like at this point, the only thing that'll stop people from acting this way towards Asians, and in this case, Asian men, is to be told that what they're doing is wrong with real life consequences. Apparently, he made nasty sexualizing comments to her. Trust me, as a guy, all guys at one point in their life will do that kind of stuff. They'll make that kind of comment. Hopefully, most guys will stop doing that, or they'll have a moment where they realize they're doing wrong. But I do know that in this day and age, it's still particularly bad towards Asian women, especially behind closed doors. Especially behind closed doors. So, kudos to this, because I think this is just a good opportunity to bring that up. And, why? Why are you wasting your time and energy doing that? I want to ask that, but then I have to ask that about every person in the world that does bad things.
Yeah, so afraid of you. When you're 13, maybe.
Probably 13 till 18.
Yeah, you look like.
He's messing with whatever. I don't know. She's a teenager, I think. Why are you? One thing I've learned over the years is that you would think that that a grown adult would not mess with a younger person due to his or her life experience and just having lived longer, and generally probably having more of a larger point of view in life. But that's not the case at all. And obviously we see that here. You see this guy harassing a totally innocent girl who just came to enjoy herself.
Now I like it more. I train at fight the touch of that. Oh, like with 2 fingers. Especially if you try to keep this.
She literally says, "You're distracting me." That doesn't always happen. So she explicitly said stop.
A couple of concert on interview. I don't know, man. Interview fucking kitty.
Now they're just they're like complaining amongst each other about how the concert is going. That part is kind of funny to me. I don't know. This is they were talking amongst themselves, but that was kind of hilarious. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so now you just saw him making, gay comments towards the group. You see, guys, here's the thing. Here's where I say, there's another racial element. I can picture random people throwing those kinds of comments at rather, handsome, maybe more pretty boys or pretty looking guys 20, 30 years ago. It's 2018 now. I can't picture this guy doing the same thing at like a One Direction concert. So once again, what is the underlying kind of thing going on here? Again, I have to call it out. It's because they're Asian men. Still in America, despite the fact that so many other groups get protection. I mean, I don't even want to call it protection. there's awareness that you shouldn't just blanket treat someone subhuman by dehumanizing them and, making a blanket statement about them. But for Asian men, for whatever reason, America refuses to catch on. And that has to stop. More comments.
That's how you like it.
I like girls, baby girl.
You like it.
I like how she claps back at him. She's probably really young too, so. Now more pictures of this guy. Okay, so we finished the clip. In the actual clip, there wasn't that much footage, but I already know what happened throughout the entire thing. If you take just one part of his statement throughout the whole clip, you could pass it off as he's just being a jerk. But you need to take into account the background and the entirety of his behavior. Number one, he's harassing and bothering and kind of just jerking around fans who probably paid money to go to a concert so they could enjoy themselves. Why the heck does someone who did that, who took their own precious time, their own precious money, to go see their own thing without bothering anyone else, have to deal with this? And two, once again, this is the underlying theme behind all of this, but I wouldn't be surprised if the reason he was such a jerk is that racial element. So kudos to whoever took the initiative to call this out. It's not easy to do that. You must be a very go-getter type person. It's just, I feel like at this point, for us as, Asian Americans, to really get any attention to the fact that we get this unfair treatment is to do things like this, I wish it wasn't worked that way, but, when I talk about the treatment of Asian Americans and Asians in America, it's not about the racist treatment and underlying racist environment per se. It's more about the unequal treatment and the hypocrisy and the double standards. I'm taking this clip as an opportunity to say so many things are okay to be said, to be done, and to be thought against us that would be totally not okay to do against any other group of people. But here, in America, it's not just ignored, it's almost encouraged. And that's why so many people are unabashedly act like this. And this kind of behavior is harder to catch and call out because it's more of a passing by moment and just a little harder to catch. But it's just as pervasive as any other kind of bad behavior, just as pervasive, just as damning, and just as hurtful. And it has to stop. So to the fans who were there, who had to deal with this treatment, I hope you still had a good time. I hope you still had a good time and realize that it wasn't just you guys that night. We all go through this kind of treatment in some way, shape, or form. Kudos to calling it out and taking the initiative to really just call out this kind of behavior and say that it's wrong. And I think we're just going to have to continue doing this if we want to see any kind of just any kind of at least conscious awareness that, it can't happen. And to the band members, hopefully they weren't bothered by it. I don't even know if they knew about it, but, I guess as a public figure, you have to kind of be a little, open to the fact that you will have bad things thrown at you or bad things said about you. But it's just, it's so bad, so bad. But, that's just a little tidbit that I wanted to go into. The clip itself wasn't as bad as I thought it might be. But I took it as more of a symptom or kind of hint as to the underlying issue, which goes back to what I talked about with the racial element. And this is just bad behavior in general. But one thing I've realized is that unfortunately, people just do bad things, Just even discounting, just not even thinking about the racial element that I talked about. Why do you do this? But it's kind of pointless to say that because, one thing about living life I've realized is that humans can just be really shitty to each other and really inconsiderate. So I hope everybody has a nice day. If you come across this, hopefully we can all have the awareness and background to be able to call it out and at least confront it and fight back. So, yeah, have a great day, guys. I'll see you soon.